Hello students, welcome to the PEAK certification program on economics and sustainability, an initiative by MPN Systems Advisory Private Limited. In this discussion, we will be learning key research skills and methods. We will be understanding different research methods and approaches involved in conducting quality research, including qualitative, quantitative, and mixed methods. We will also be looking at where to start researching and how to do referencing. Firstly, let's look at the stages of conducting research. One should start off with the problem identification and form a thesis statement, which is essentially a sentence expressing a concise summary of the main idea of a research paper or essay. Secondly, include a literature review of relevant papers related to the research topic. Thirdly, based on the literature review, hypothesize to make an educated guess answering the research questions. Then go ahead and conduct research to present arguments and test your hypothesis. Lastly, conclude by analyzing the results. You must be wondering how to actually conduct research to test your hypothesis. There are multiple methods of doing so, depending upon the research topic. You can take a qualitative approach, which is the form of words, description, and open-ended conversations. Examples include conducting in-depth interviews with experts, stakeholder consultations, and focus groups. Another approach involves numbers. Essentially, it's called quantitative approach, where you can conduct statistical analysis, modeling, or close-ended surveys. The third approach is mixed methods, integrating qualitative and quantitative methods. For example, you can do a statistical analysis and interviews. So where do you actually find these research papers? A good starting point is to look up organizations that conduct research in the appropriate field. We will provide a list in the later part of the presentation. Academic papers are mostly present in Google Scholar, ResearchGate, JSTOR, Sage, Springer, etc. Start by finding out key ideas and subtopics to find papers. Do not completely rely on Google and Wikipedia searches. Then narrow down and target your search with key words or concepts in the search box. Don't write questions or sentences in the search box. At the end of a research paper, you will find a references section, this can be a good place to find other relevant reports. Make sure you use a variety of different material to support your arguments. Think critically when choosing a source. Is the research published in a well-known journal like Nature or Sage or Springer? Like I said, there are a variety of sources to conduct research. Some sources are more reliable, such as government documents, published research, or peer-reviewed articles, as compared to other sources like personal blogs or outdated papers. A good technique is to triangulate evidence from different sources of information. Check the validity of the sources by finding out if it is trustworthy. Is the information authentic and not biased? Is it relevant, timely, peer-reviewed? Here is how a research paper looks like. To save your time, you can scan the abstract, which is in the beginning. It's a short summary of the research. You can find out key points here discussed throughout the paper. If you want to refer to to summarize, paraphrase, or quote from another source of a research paper, you need to include an in-text citation with the author's surname and publishing year. You can see the author of this research paper has done so. Now on to a very important part of conducting research. Always remember to keep an account of all the reference material you use in your writing. Plagiarism, meaning copying and pasting someone else's work onto your writing, is academic theft. It should strictly be avoided. When you use material directly from another source, make sure to use quotation marks. Sometimes people also self-plagiarize, meaning they don't reference their previous work. Different universities and organizations have different referencing format that they follow, such as MLA, Harvard style. When you want to manage a large set of references, use Zotero or Mendeley software. They create a bibliography for you for free. Remember, in most cases, it is more useful to use references that are current. The key information you need to include in references are the author name, date and title of the paper, publisher name, the web link URL, and specific page numbers where you exactly got the information from. Here is an example of a reference. A really good thing about Google Scholar is if you press this quotation mark button circled here in the red, you will get suggestions for citations in different reference styles. Under MS Word, there's a section called References where you can insert citations whilst you write your paper. If you are researching in agriculture policies, here is a list of articles and reports given by specific organizations. If you're working or researching in the power sector, look up research papers from these organizations. For urban sector, urban transport, you can use these organizations for references. Here are some links to government data sources, which can be a good point to include in your research. Okay, let's now discuss research writing skills. Here we'll be exploring academic writing, its different formats. You will learn about tips on writing skills and precautions to take. We will give you a brief overview of how to write a report as well. So let's get into it. There are various formats in academia. Firstly, there are literature reviews, like I mentioned before, which is a thorough discussion on selective scholarly publications relevant to the research topic. This can be a standalone a literature review paper, or it can be embedded into a research paper. Another format is a report, wherein you do a critical analysis on a particular topic, solution, or hypothesis. For example, there are consultancy reports. Research papers are another format, which are basically testing a hypothesis with a structured methodology to come up with an evaluation and conclusion. An example can be scientific papers. The key in choosing an appropriate format is to choose what is suitable to the topic of research and what can easily convey the message across to your target audience. Here are some tips you can keep in mind whilst writing. The key steps are to start with a plan, then write a draft, keep editing that draft, and rereading aloud to make sure that it flows. Remember who your audience is, why you're writing, and what the purpose of the overall paper is. Sentences should avoid passive voice, avoid flowery language, and complicated jargon is a no-no. Sentences should not be overly long. They should be simple sentences. Try reading them aloud. This helps. Make sure to analyze, explain, compare, rather than telling, describing, or exaggerate. The structure of reports are as follows. First, there is an executive summary which summarizes a longer report so that readers can quickly become acquainted with the material without having to read it all. Then write an introduction to the main topics to be discussed. Then you can include body paragraphs with key ideas and their explanation with evidence. A good method to writing a body paragraph is PEL. Point, evidence, and link, linking back to the argument. Lastly, include a conclusion summarizing the analysis of the report with recommendations. Here is a list of references I've used. Thank you for joining in and happy researching!